Hello, Writing 1060. There are a few materials this week I'd like to walk you through to explain their purpose, and after this video, take some time to read these materials on your own and refer back to them over the weeks as you build or revise your projects. The first link I have posted for you relates to incorporating sources when writing. Several of you have mentioned over the last couple of weeks of not introducing or even not knowing how exactly to let readers know a source is about to be used. So this resource from Gallaudet University helps us write our lines just as the author or speaker we're using is about to be quoted or paraphrased in our writing. And we can vary the language instead of always saying according to. So as we go down, we can see examples of neutral verbs. The author says, the author notes, the author believes. And you can see some of the other examples they have here. These are pretty neutral. And a little bit later, we'll see some other ways to have our authors or our source materials speak in our essays. Right now, this is MLA style, so let's scroll down to where they use APA. It's pretty nice. The author reveals, Fortin expresses, and then you can see that they're using actual citations in APA format. So this is a pretty great source, not only for varying the way our sources speak in our paper, but also for APA formatting. Now, if we scroll down a little bit further, we have a few stronger verbs we can actually use in our paper. The author rejects, the author argues, compares. But what I want to point out here is if the writer that you're using isn't actually doing those things, if the author isn't insisting, if they're not denying, then don't use that word in your essay. So you kind of have to know the material really well. And that's why paraphrasing is so important in your essay too. If you're paraphrasing, you have command of that source material, and you know if they're rejecting some information in that paraphrase. You know if they're emphasizing some information. So this is just a really good way to allow yourself to introduce your sources or refer back to a source pretty easily by using some of these varied verbs in your writing. And again, this is MLA style, but these are APA style. So we have refutes, rejects, compares. And again, if they're not doing those things, use a different word that is more fitting for that piece. So just use this site, this link as a reference. You don't necessarily have to read through this week. But as you're reworking your investigation essays, both for the second draft and for the final draft, at the end of the semester, this should help you out a little bit. So going back to our Moodle page, the next source I want each of you to study this week are mistakes to avoid when building a survey. And this is an article that I want each of you to read this week. As soon as you choose a topic for your visual essay, you should begin creating a survey to help gather information from your community based on the different guidelines from the assignment. The survey is the portion that takes the longest amount of time because you have to create the survey, but you also have to start gathering that data, that information, and then calculating that information. So all of that takes a lot of time. So as soon as you choose a topic, then you want to create the survey and get it out there so people can start taking it. But the questions that you create can be questions based on the knowledge of the topic itself, possible solutions, projections for the future, or even direct effects, things like that you can ask your community about. So you want to ask more questions than you actually need, because you're not really sure what people know or how you can use it in your project. And this article helps students prepare questions for their survey takers so that the questions are easy to navigate and the results aren't skewed or difficult to analyze. So let's take a look at this article and see what they have to say. There are 7 question writing mistakes or so, especially if this is one of the first times you're writing a survey. So I kind of want to take a look at some of the things they have here. And then one of the first things is avoiding leading words in questions. And a lot of times we might have an idea of the results that we're going to get, and we might have a subconscious way of writing our questions to get those results. And so one of the examples here, I like this example a lot. How would you rate the career of legendary outfielder Joe DiMaggio? And the reason why I like this a lot is because I think a lot of people would agree, or most people would agree that Joe DiMaggio is pretty legendary, but maybe not. Maybe some people don't agree, and maybe some people don't even know who he is, which that's particularly important. If somebody doesn't know who Joe DiMaggio is, and they read this, then they're really swayed to be like, oh, well, he's legendary. So the survey question, encourages you to take out words like that and just replace it with baseball. So if someone really doesn't know who that is, then they can make an informed decision and try to answer the best that they can. So they're like, oh, okay, well, he plays baseball. And then they can answer their questions from there. And why they would take a survey based on this, I don't know, but go with me on this. So the idea is to try to form your questions without leading to a specific answer for whatever reasons. So be really careful about that. You'll notice that some of these mistakes kind of overlap, but I like this one too. I want to point this one out to you, partially because it's asking one of the questions that that you guys will need to kind of think about in your surveys. Some of your survey questions will need to be dedicated to demographics like age. And then based on your topic, you need to think about what demographics will help inform some of your results. So if your topic is a topic that relates around gender or something like that, then the gender is a demographic that you're probably going to want to ask about, and age might be something that you want to ask about too. So demographics are things like age, gender, religion, school, how much schooling you've had, those kinds of things, or where you live, where you're from. Those are all demographics. So you kind of have to think about your topic and what demographics might go along with those. So think about that, and those should be the first few questions you ask. And then you want to get into content questions, of course. So this question in particular, it's a demographic question about age, but what they're talking about is giving mutually exclusive choices. And so here we have 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40. And of course the problem is, what would you select if you were 10, 20, or 30? And the problem becomes, not only are your survey takers confused if they're one of those ages, but it also starts to skew your results. So for you guys, a lot of you might have 20-year-olds taking your survey, and it might have a pretty big impact on the results that you have. But if half of your 20-year-olds answered 10 to 20 and the other answered 20 to 30, how do you know how many 20-year-olds took your survey? And then how much of that influences the rest of your answers? So that can get really tricky. So you have to be really careful both about your demographic questions that you ask and, of course, about the answers that you provide for your survey takers. So be careful there too. So not asking direct questions also brings up a good portion. This idea here, what do you like to do for fun? It's not really a direct question. It's also not really something that you can provide a multiple choice of answers for. It's such a broad question, and you might want to offer, if that's a question, you might want to offer somebody an open-ended answer for. You might want to offer them some space to just kind of write an answer for you. And really, I suggest only doing 1 or 2 questions like that. If you want to ask an open-ended question, is there anything you'd like to add, or is there something you'd like to say about this topic? only give them 1 or 2 options for that. Most of your questions in your survey should be closed-ended questions with clear options to choose from. It makes your job easier, it makes the survey clearer, and it makes analyzing your data much easier. The thing is, if you offer everyone, a fill in the blank, even for closed-ended questions, people might write a lot and then you have to analyze it. And they might also fill in answers that just don't match. For example, I had students in a class, answer or ask closed-ended questions. They were good questions, but they just let everybody fill in the answers instead of offering them multiple choice answers. And for gender, somebody wrote in sex, chicken, robot. And of course that's not a gender, but they couldn't even use that person's survey. They had to throw that person's survey out because gender was a particularly effective form of analyzing data for their survey. It was a sexual harassment topic specifically on campus, so they couldn't even use that survey's results. So you really just don't want to do that. People either won't take it seriously or they'll just write a lot. So closed-ended questions with specific answers. And if you really want to give people an opportunity to answer a direct question, either for quotes for your project or something like that, make it something that doesn't skew the rest of the results for your survey, and make them maybe 1 or 2 questions at the end of your survey, and that'll be a good thing to do. So take your time with this article, read it for the week, and read it before you start making your survey questions. It'll be really helpful for you. Now, to create a survey, you can use either Google Forms or SurveyMonkey. And SurveyMonkey is a free website and requires an account, but only allows 10 questions with the free account. So you might want more than 10 questions, and if you do, then SurveyMonkey won't really work for you. Everyone has access to Google Forms through their OU account, and I'll show you that in a minute, but both SurveyMonkey and Google Forms will offer you an online link to your survey, calculate the results, and create graphs and charts for you. And for SurveyMonkey, there's a little button here on how it works. And you can just kind of take a peek around the website. But it's a really good website. I've had students use it before. It works out really nicely. And if 10 questions, including your demographic questions, works for you, then it is a really great website for you. So you can take a look in there if that's what you'd like. You can also give surveys by hand, calculate the results yourself, or enter each into Google yourself, but of course this is far more time consuming. So to create a survey in Google Forms, you would log into your email. I'm already logged into mine. And then you would go to your Google Drive, which is over here on the right-hand side. And then once you're into your drive, you're going to click New. You're going to go down to the bottom for More, and we're going to go to Google Forms. And then we're already in, and you would just start filling in the fields to create your survey. The untitled form is where you would want to give your survey title and name. So we're going to do Survey for Finding Nessie. And that is, of course, the Loch Ness Monster. Why not? Okay, so that's our survey title, and then you would be able to start creating your questions. You can give it a description if you want. The first question is already laid out for you, and once you click it, you could put your your question here. These would be your options for your answers. It's already set up in multiple choice for you, so if you didn't want your first question to be multiple choice, or if at some point you want to change what kind of question it is, we would come over to the drop-down box, and you could then change what kind of questions or how you're setting it up to this. So if at some point you do want to give somebody an opportunity to give you a short answer or a paragraph, then you would select short answer or paragraph. So that's how you would work this. You can decorate your survey by using the color palette up here on the right. And then the only other thing I'd like to show you here is the settings, because this is where you can kind of limit how many times someone takes the survey or who can take the survey. So if you're not limiting this to just Oakland University users, if you want other people to be able to take your survey, then you would want to go to settings and you want to unclick the box restrict to Oakland University users. But if you want to contain it just to OU students, if that's what your topic commands, then you want to make sure that this box is clicked. And they will have to sign in, but you still won't be able to, if that box is clicked, you won't be able to see who it is. So you can still tell your survey takers that it's anonymous. The only way it won't be anonymous is if you collect email, if you select the box that says collect email addresses. And I don't recommend that. I absolutely encourage each and every one of you to make these anonymous. It's more likely that people will take your survey if it's anonymous, especially if you have a controversial topic. So I encourage you all to do that. And then also, I do encourage you guys to do limit it to one response. Those people would have to have a Google account, not an Oakland University account, but they do have to have Gmail or Google in some form. So that might limit you a little bit, but in this case then, you know, try to make sure that if not, that people only take your survey once. You don't want to skew your results. So these are just a couple of the things that you would need to see. The only other thing I'd like to show you, I guess I can just give you some examples. This is you guys don't necessarily need to see the content here, but I just want to show you, once you're in one, this is one of my own responses. This is a judging category thing, but it's still a Google form. So you can see once you have your responses in, these are the graphs and charts that are made for you. So they're all the same results specifically, and you can change what kinds of graphs and charts you have, but it's actually pretty cool. So it does all this for you. And then if people leave comments, they'll be at the bottom for you, or wherever it is that you placed it in your survey. So that's how Google Forms works, and it's pretty cool. SurveyMonkey is pretty much the same, but I don't have an example to show you because I don't have one created. But it's very similar. So I hope these help, and I hope that you guys get a lot out of using these samples. And in the meantime, good luck. Good luck choosing a topic. Good luck creating your surveys. And if you guys have any questions in the meantime, of course, post to the Q&A forums. So, best of luck to each of you.